So we've all seen the articles, maybe the tweets, or why you should and shouldn't participate in certain charities. I actually found out about a lot of these dissenting opinions about Operation Christmas Child because, like a lot of you, I went on YouTube to search for ideas of what to include in some of my shoe boxes, and I came across some videos referencing some articles about why people choose not to participate. So this video is just kind of my response to that, kind of hoping to have a conversation. Hopefully people will leave comments, because I know right now it's just me kind of like talking to a camera. If you hear my dog in the background, don't mind. He may join in the video at some point. He's probably going to be chewing on a bone soon. But anyway, welcome to my channel if you're new here. If you aren't new here and you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button below. I would love to have more conversations and engagement with more different types of people. I just think it's super interesting to learn about different people, places, cultures, ways of thinking, and I've always been interested in those things, hence my username, because I like to basically daydream about how to help people or, you know, change the world or travel and things like that. So hopefully you find this useful. Come along for the ride with me. And I just want to say that obviously in 2020 we've all been through kind of a lot, and cancel culture also got really strong in 2020 for some reason. And so this video is just kind of like, I guess, my viewpoints on cancel culture as it relates to charities, specifically in this case Operation Christmas Child, but a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about are pretty relevant to like any type of charity. I do want to say that this may end up being two parts, or I may end up filming this in parts, because I do have like a lot of things I want to talk about, and we'll see how much I can talk. I'm going to try not to elaborate too much on every topic, otherwise I would end up having a different video on each of the 14 topics. So I guess maybe if I get comments on specific facets of this, then I'll make a separate video addressing those things. But here we go. I also apologize in advance if I look like I'm reading, because this is a lot of stuff that I thought up and I literally can't memorize all this. I'm sorry, but I did put a lot of effort into thinking about my points. So here we go. Number one, people don't support Franklin Graham. That's perfectly fine, because I don't think anything or anyone is all good or all bad. You'll see this as a theme in my video, but many times people have to weigh options and pick out what works for them. So right now, for many Americans, nobody agrees fully with either or any presidential candidate. I think it's very unlikely that anyone agrees fully. So you kind of just have to weigh your priorities and pick and decide what works best for you. For example, in the United States, a lot of people have canceled Netflix or talked about canceling Netflix due to the movie Cuties, because they think it is child exploitation. And just because you didn't support Netflix doesn't, or just because you didn't cancel Netflix doesn't mean that you agree with that topic. Doesn't mean you're okay with it. It just means that you weighed your options and, you know, chose not to watch it, or focused on everything else that Netflix offers. Also, remember that Operation Christmas Child is part of a larger organization called Samaritan's Purse, and a lot of good things that they have done are they did offer field hospitals during COVID in a lot of places. I know specifically New York City. They responded to the explosion in Beirut, Lebanon. They have a doctor who works with them, who was one of the doctors who helped contain the Ebola outbreak in Western Africa. So that's point number one. Another thing that people get upset about is proselytizing. I cannot say that word. I will put it up on the screen for your vocabulary lesson for the day. But basically, just the belief that preaching a religion is forcing children to convert to that religion. Which I personally don't agree with. It's my understanding that children do maybe one song or something while they're holding the shoe boxes before they open it up, and then the additional religious education program is optional. I believe a lot of kids choose to do it. But I mean, so here's the thing. First of all, it's a short-term program. I was baptized Catholic. I made my communion Catholic. I went to a Lutheran preschool, and my favorite thing to do was learn about dreidels, which are Jewish, and we sang dreidel dreidel and we spun dreidels in my Lutheran preschool. So I don't feel like I've ever been converted to a religion just by having exposure to certain religions. So I don't see how a short little program converts kids as much as it does just educate them about religions or concepts that are out there. And if the idea of God helps them feel comfort, then what's the harm in that? If you don't like it, you don't have to follow it, don't do it. But I don't really see the harm in that. I've seen people talk about how there are better ways to help. Sure, absolutely, and I fully agree. The best way to help is to give money and let people decide for themselves what it is that they need, because we have no way of knowing. We're not living it. Only I know what I need most. Only you know what you need most. Only they know what they need most. Typically, it's also best to donate to a larger cause because they have like bulk pricing. So for example, it's better if you donate 25 bucks to the local shoe bank. For example, it's better if you donate 25 bucks to the local food bank because they have like bulk discount rates, but a lot of people just prefer to donate like a box of food, which is perfectly fine. But in that situation, you could argue, well, there's better ways to help. Most of the time there are better ways to help, and I don't think that should kind of like degrade the ways that people do choose to help, if that makes sense. Sometimes when people choose to donate a box of food, it's because it feels more personal and helps you make it's because it feels more personal and helps make people feel like they actually did something, because just like handing over a check or a $20 bill doesn't have that same effect. And I think that's part of the reason Operation Christmas Child is so popular. But yeah, I mean, there's almost always going to be a better way to help, but I don't think it's okay to put down people for the way that they personally choose to help. Next point. A lot of people talk about how kids might end up with things that they don't need, and I agree with this. I do pack a lot of useful things, as you see if you look through my videos: toothbrushes, bars of soap, kind of hygiene items, which honestly are super important. There are studies which you can look up, or maybe I can try to reference for you, that show that hand washing is one of the biggest things that like helps fight against global poverty, because just a lot of the diseases that people catch are ones that can just be eradicated. Like, they're not gonna get them if they do something as simple as wash their hands. Well, giving toys as a gift is mostly a Western kind of cultural thing. It does exist in some form, I think, in all parts of the world. Granted, I'm not an expert on global affairs. I am hoping to study a little bit more in that area. But if you don't like what people put in their boxes, it's kind of like, I don't know, not really up to you to decide. Like, then you do you pack your own boxes. Don't put cheap toys in your boxes. Put useful things in your boxes. Put washcloths, put bars of soap, and then put an outfit and things like that. There are plenty of things that are useful in every climate. I don't know about you, but like, I use things to, when I take stuff out of the oven. So sometimes even if your box goes to a warm climate, if you put a pair of gloves in there, it might still be useful. So I do also believe that kids like having some toys, regardless of where they are in the world. Now, the definition of a toy is different in every part of the world and every part of the country, because I mean, definition of a toy where I live is like a kid getting an iPad. A definition of a toy in another country, honestly, is they just like play with plastic bottles. I'll try to find the article I found that references that. Basically, it's the most popular child's toy per country, and a lot of kids in a lot of countries literally consider a plastic bottle their toy, which is fine. Kind of sad, kind of, you know, gets into a lot of the plastic waste problems in the world, but kids do like to have things to like kind of entertain themselves with. Another thing I've heard people talk about is that it's sexist. So first of all, boys and girls in underserved countries care a lot less about whether they get a pink or a blue pencil. When I was in Kenya, granted this is just an anecdotal story, but I saw boys walking around with pink Crocs on. Items are more about serving a purpose than they are about being stylish or being a certain color, if that makes sense. Lots of countries are not developed to the way the United States and Europe and Canada are, as far as worrying about a gender label, which yes, it's perfectly, I'm cool with people using whatever pronouns that they want to use, but it's just not really a conversation that people are having in these other countries, and I don't think that we should be super pushing our Western ideals on them when it comes to those things. If they are happy, if the boy is happy to get a pink pair of shoes, let him be happy to get a pink pair of shoes. And if it really bothers you that much that you have to check off boy or girl, then just pack a gender neutral box, completely gender neutral, and maybe check off boy and girl, or write gender neutral on the label, or however it is you want to go about it, and they'll be perfectly happy with that. Many of the items that I pack are gender neutral anyway, like school supplies and a lot of the toys and soap. And so, I mean, if that's something that's holding you back from doing it, I don't think it should, because you can pack a gender neutral box and it'll go to a child, boy or girl, whatever, and I'm sure they'll be happy with it. Another point I want to make is that no one is making you do this charity, and you can participate as little or as much as you want, or not at all. There certainly are ways to give that are tried and tested. GiveDirectly.com is an awesome way to make direct cash transfers, infusions into societies, to people, into an economy, and certainly go for it. Donate your 20 bucks to that instead of building a shoebox. Kiva Loans started as Grameen Bank. I've done some reading on Portfolios of the Poor and The Bottom Billion. Those are two books that I would recommend. And Kiva Loans is another fantastic way. Microfinance, microlending is a fantastic way to help people. There's so much academic evidence of that. So if that's what you choose to participate in, go for it. Another point people bring up is that some gift boxes are better than others. Well, if you truly do believe that, then you can donate to the extras box, because there are some boxes, I believe, I've never been part of a distribution, but I believe that there are some boxes that come like not completely full, or lacking a wow item, or lacking in some other way. So what you can do is you can donate to the extras box, and I'm gonna make a separate video about what I plan to do for that. But basically, like, just take 10 bars of soap or more and some washcloths and whatever, and put them in a big giant box, and then when you drop off your shoe boxes for donation, you can also drop off that extras box, and it'll get shipped to the sorting centers. And if staff finds that there are boxes that are not full, they'll take some of those extra items from the extras box and use them to fill some of the not filled boxes. And you know, the best thing to do is encourage everyone to make good, useful boxes. And I think a lot of people who are looking this stuff up on YouTube are looking to make good, useful boxes. If you are having trouble filling your shoe boxes, I would encourage you to make less shoe boxes. Just make like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of quality, rather than making 20 or whatever it is that your goals are. Oh, and then as far as some boxes being better than others, there's an argument for recipients not knowing how to use the items. So again, you can just put in pretty self-explanatory items. I mean, kids are smart no matter what country they're from, and I think a lot of people kind of, I don't know, undermine, I don't think that's the right word, but kind of just like don't give kids enough credit. Kids are very intelligent in every part of the world. They are creative. They have a lot of skills and abilities, and you know, generally there are going to be things that aren't maybe like super useful, or they're not going to know what to do with it. I read a story about a slinky, and yeah, like I can totally see how someone wouldn't know how to use a slinky. But I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff that I put in my shoe boxes, you know, a stuffed animal, some school supplies, things like that, I mean, it's pretty, you know, they're pretty useful, pretty self-explanatory. So something that I've read a lot about in 2020 is white saviorism. And I think that there are a lot of very, very valid points. However, I don't think that only white people are packing shoe boxes. And I actually think like a lot of churches that I've seen online packing shoe boxes are actually like primarily minority. I don't think that's the point. I think the concern is if it creates first world dependence, which I think as long as it's framed as a one-time gift, like it shouldn't create first world dependence. It's just like a big happy event to come to the town, to come to your village, you get a gift, and you know, you have a happy day. And that's basically all this is supposed to be. It's just like making someone's day for one day. I know that there was an issue with dependence with the Tom's shoes, how they, you know, started giving them out all the time to certain villages, and people started expecting it and became dependent on it, and they weren't buying shoes of their own. But we learned from that situation, and I don't think Operation Christmas Child can be compared to that. I think it's just a one-time happy event, and it is what it is. Kind of going along with that, people talk about disrupting the local economy. And I personally haven't seen any evidence of this scouring the internet. If someone has something otherwise, like please put it in the comments and let me know. I'd love to learn about it and have a conversation. But generally, I think the things that the kids are getting in shoe boxes are not things that are being purchased locally anyway. So as far as like myself, I sponsor 3 children, 2 in the Philippines and 1 in Guatemala. And I do sometimes send cash transfers money so that they can buy things that they need, and usually all they're buying is literally food, because that's what they need the most, and we're not sending food in shoe boxes. Sometimes they do purchase a couple hygiene items sometimes, so I guess maybe by sending soap you're kind of taking away a little bit, but I think primarily what people are buying locally is food. And some people also complain that like I mentioned about the gloves, that not every item is useful in every country, which I kind of disagree with. I mean, I think it might be true to an extent, I guess. It would be administratively probably impossible, it costs more than it's worth, to tell everyone like where their shoebox is going to, you know? So there's no way for me to know if I'm packing for Africa or Romania or what. The only real item I saw brought up in any of those articles is like hair ties in Africa, because people generally tend to keep their hair short. However, you can use it for like a rubber band or something like that. It doesn't have to be a hair tie. So that's my response to that. I also read another article about how the parents couldn't afford to replace toothpaste. By the way, you cannot include toothpaste in your shoeboxes anymore. However, that used to be a thing. In this article, I guess the mother saw that her child got toothpaste and like took it away because she didn't want the child to be sad that she wouldn't be able to replace it after he used it. And he was like, oh, I really like brushing my teeth with this. And then he like doesn't ever get to use it again. I kind of think that this is why it should be framed as like a one-time only gift. I think kids and parents, recipients should understand that these gifts are not like an always thing. And I think many people, and honestly, like I think most people are aware enough of that. And if they're not, I guess maybe just like a little bit more education around that would help. Donate locally. I do this too. I adopted a kid locally from like one of those angel Christmas trees, and I donated a town over. I never put my name on it. I don't know who the kid is. They don't know who I am. And that's perfectly okay, because I'm not doing this for thanks necessarily. I donate clothing items that were in good shape. And I've also literally tried to give stuff away on Facebook and not been successful. Like, I don't know why. So don't like boxes of school supplies. It's so weird. So don't let cancel culture stop you from donating how you feel is best. And I just took those school supplies and I put them into Operation Christmas Child boxes, and it is what it is. Local people didn't want it. I've seen other arguments that the gifts are not distributed at Christmas. I don't see why this is a problem, because people actually like complain about it being a Christmas thing and not everyone celebrates Christmas. And if they're not distributed at Christmas, that should kind of like wipe out that entire argument. And it's just kind of like a one-time gift for a child at some point during the year. It would be almost impossible to coordinate shipping and distribution and the volunteers and everything to be in every country at the same time. Like there's literally, they don't have enough staff to do that. And for people who don't like the religious aspect to Operation Christmas Child as it exists, I feel like this should be a plus for them. And kind of as I mentioned, are there things Operation Christmas Child could do better? Absolutely. For starters, I'd like to see them donate or put money into the local economy where they are giving the shoe boxes. It's so easy to sit behind a computer screen and criticize. Everyone can weigh their own options. You don't have to participate. Personally, for all the reasons listed above, I will be donating shoe boxes, and I will continue to evaluate where Operation Christmas Child fits into my personal donation world, and I hope everyone does the same and does what's best for them. But I think it's a great organization, and I think that it does do a lot of good things.